Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to the Legacy Builders series. I am your host, Ace Randall. As always, it's always an honor to come on with you guys every Monday and Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you saw during the intro, this is our finale week. Can you believe it? We have been going strong for 3 months straight, started on the first week of July, and we are ending the last week of September. Don't worry, we are coming back again in 2021 in January, and so we have some great things on the horizon coming up for 2021. Thank you guys for being on with us and sharing and listening and learning and taking in all of these 30 to 40 guests that we've had on this show. Can you believe it, guys? I've had almost 40 guests on this show of different walks of life, different backgrounds, different histories, different professions, different careers, objectives, different entrepreneur backgrounds and things of that sort. And it has been an amazing journey. And yes, we've been consistent, even when we've had some instances that we've had to change it up a bit and do a different form of broadcast or show versus what we originally was going to do. We wanted to keep consistent. And thank you guys for, making the show great. But we have some great things on the lookout. So be on the lookout for 2021. It is going to be amazing. As always, I come on with an inspirational thought. And lately, I have been talking about it's time to amplify. And last week, Sunday, I did a prayer. And then last week during the shows, I was talking about different aspects of amplifying. And so I don't feel a need to let up off of that. I really think that that's really essential for this moment because what's getting ready to come on the horizon for us, we need to prepare and make ourselves ready. And so this is now the time that we need to really amplify in your studies, amplify in your profession, amplify in your reach, in your target market, amplify spiritually, getting deeper into God, getting deeper into the word, getting deep, amplify and take yourself to the next level, get deeper and grounded in what it is that you're trying to accomplish in life or in the spirit so that you can go higher. I talked about this before about when skyscrapers are built, in order for them to go higher in height, they have to go deeper in the earth for its stability. And that's the same essential thought that I want you to learn in this process of amplifying, that you want to get rooted and grounded in what it is that you want to do in life. So I don't care if it's your profession, your business, or whatever, do whatever that is necessary for that you can be able to go higher. You need to get deeper grounded in what it is that you're trying to do. So what you feel that you're too old. So what, did you feel like you wasted time and you wasted life away? You still have time. You still here. You still have breath in your body. You still have the, as the church would say, activities of my limbs. You have the ability to get up and to function. Even if you don't have full mobility, you still have the ability to wake up and to close your eyes at night, and to, that you have life in your body to accomplish a goal or task. And so I want to encourage you, legacy builders. I'm calling everybody that's watching this live a legacy builder. Everybody that's watching on YouTube and on Facebook and on Periscope, I'm calling you all legacy builders as well, because regardless of what you do, you're going to either leave a good or a bad legacy. And so this is the moment, and this is the time to really amplify, get grounded, get rooted, so that you can be able to go higher. Can't fake your way to the top when you're trying to, build something of substance or build something massive. You can't fake your way, because if you're not rooted and grounded, it's going to tip over. It's going to fall apart. It's not going to have stability. And so I just want to come on and encourage you with that, to amplify. This is the moment. This is the time to amplify. Let's get it and let's go. All right, guys. So I've said my little rant. I said my little spiel, as I always do, come on to give you a moment of inspiration. I want to encourage you to amplify, and also to thank you all for watching as we are coming to a close of season 1 of the Legacy Builder series. So Wednesday is going to be our final episode of season 1. And so you definitely don't want to miss that as well. As we get ready to get started tonight, I have a phenomenal guest that's on with us tonight. And they have a great story to tell. Interestingly enough, I do apologize. For some reason or another, as always, my intro videos always show what have you and upload on the system. But for some reason, it did not upload. But nevertheless, I'm going to go ahead and bring on my guest of the hour. His name is Walter the Virgil Jr., and he is going to tell us about his process of building legacy. Good evening, my friend. Thank you for coming on with us tonight onto the Legacy Builder series. How are you doing this evening?
What's going on? Listen, thank you so much for having me on here. Really, really excited. I really enjoyed the inspirational moment on the front end of it, and I just want to congratulate you for really finishing strong. We begin to talk about building, and unfortunately, a lot of us are really good at initiating, but very seldomly do we finish. And so yes. I just want to celebrate you, man, for being a part of celebrating the finale of so much work that you've imputed, time you've invested, and the blessing to be able to see yourself on the back end of a completed season. So congratulations, man.
Indeed. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Just to tell you guys, we met via Instagram, or what have you. I have followed him, and he follows my pages on Instagram as well. And I see a lot of the things that he's doing. And so I had to ask him to be a part, because I felt like what he's doing in the world is really relevant, and people would enjoy to hear his story, but also learn more about his different businesses and entities as well. So before we get started, because I did not, for some reason, my video for you did not upload, and I do apologize for that. But halfway during the show, we'll do a proper introduction. But tell us a little bit about give us a list of your businesses and the companies that you actually currently have.
Okay. Well, right now, primarily, I'm vice president of Extra Solutions staffing and recruitment firm. I've been blessed to serve those guys. Our main focus is connecting people with opportunities. We provide, of course, temporary staffing options. We've been blessed to service industries, from the trucking industry to the manufacturing industries, to virtual call centers. Now we're the primary contractor for the city of Lynchburg here, both the water department and public works. It's really been interesting, especially because it gives us a unique opportunity to be able to connect with individuals within our community that may be having a challenge with finding employment, whether that be because they have a criminal background, or maybe they have a lack of education or experience. And it puts us in a space where we can really give some individuals a second chance, really focused on being able to kind of build up our workforce is not just staffing people, but sometimes being able to see that an individual has some qualities, just needs some development. So we provide various forms of training in-house to be able to build up our base of eligible prospects for positions, and kind of aid them in the process of locking into something that they possibly couldn't have locked in prior to the training and development. And outside of that, I've been blessed to be founder and CEO of Get Fresh and Live. Get Fresh and Live is a nonprofit initiative designed to develop educational teaching tools for concerned parents and institutions geared towards really trying to see transformation within the lives of at-risk young men. And what we do is we develop curriculum that's designed to develop healthy self-perception, because a lot of what the programming is out there, in the desire for programming is towards career development and workforce development. And we're all for that, because I have a vested interest in that via, my for-profit entity on the front end. But there was something I began to learn. I began to learn that it's impossible to be able to get an individual to aspire for something if they have not yet been exposed to something. And so before I can begin the process of developing those soft skills that lead into those job readiness skills that lead into directing an individual down a specific career path, I have to begin the process of cultivating healthy self-perception so that individual can see value within themselves. Because if you can't see value within yourself, you can't see value within a process that's going to lead to an objective, right? And so Get Fresh and Live is really where my heart has been residing for the past 7 years. Now we're providing services to both private and public school systems, as well as juvenile detention centers. This summer, we were really excited because we had an opportunity to service the Virginia Department of Education. They actually have a subsidiary department entitled State Operated Programs. And this is the fiscal agent for all public school systems, all juvenile detention centers, mental health institutions that provide programming for at-risk youth and receive Virginia Department of Education money for that. So State Operated Programs is the fiscal agent that makes sure that everybody's meeting their criteria, and they establish mandatory trainings for those organizations to attend in order to stay eligible for those state monies. And they contracted us this summer to be the keynote for all 4 of their regional mandatory training sessions. That was phenomenal. Outside of that, I'm founder and CEO of Walter Virgil and Associates LLC. That right there is the consultation firm that I've been blessed to develop, providing all manners and forms of consultation and executive coaching for our business community. We realize that now, of course, the hot levels of training that most executive teams are looking for are in the areas of diversity, equity, inclusion. Now we realize that organizations now realizing that this is an area where they have to invest in, but not necessarily in position to develop positions for that. And so they're contracting people to come in to aid them in building out the culture of their companies. And so we've been providing that service along with various other areas that allow us to provide executive coaching and ongoing consultation. And so just to kind of push those main things out there, those are the main things that I'm directly responsible for. But outside of that, as a separate contractor, I do come on and do work for various different companies, especially within the fashion industry. I've been blessed to do some really interesting things. Be on the lookout, because I'm tired of wearing other people's clothes, and so now I've connected with some with some textile manufacturers, and we are in the process of developing our own collection, which will be dropping in the spring. But as of right now, I'm kind of just kind of keeping that under wraps. But since I'm here talking to you and we're talking about building, I'm choosing not to be as exclusive. Yeah, yeah,
And we're going to dive more into that a little bit later. But definitely because of me not having your proper introduction, I did want to give you a moment
no,
to tell us
yeah.
a little bit about your companies. But no worries, we're going to do it right during our second segment. So no worries. And so let's kind of go back to the beginning a little bit. Tell us a little bit about where you're from, a little bit of your upbringing, in that regard, and like your educational background. How did that come about?
Okay. I am a product of two phenomenal communities combining. On the one hand, my father is number 4 out of 13 children, originally
Wow.
out of Columbia, Mississippi. And my grandfather, the late great Bishop R.T. Virgil and Maddie Virgil. At that time, they only had 3 boys. In the early 1950s, in a hostile Jim Crow Mississippi, realized that the future for their family could no longer look like Columbia, Mississippi. So they migrated up to New Brunswick, New Jersey for a shot at a better life. And they grew significantly. My father was the first out of the rest that would come soon after to be born in New Brunswick, New Jersey. And on the flip side of the Western Hemisphere, we have my mother, who was born in Vega Baja, Puerto Rico. So for all of my Latinos, same thing with her and her family. Resources and the economic situation and the opportunities were limited. So they realized, listen, we got to move to the mainland. So as American citizens, they were able to do so, and they had family in the New Brunswick, New Jersey area. So long story short,
Nice.
Mom met my dad and got married, and grown-ups came together, and I'm here. And so, so I grew up in New Brunswick, New Jersey. 2 big families. My mom is one of 10, dad one of 13. So I grew up with about like anywhere from 30 to 45 first cousins on both sides of the family. And so growing up, I didn't need friends. I had cousins. And everything was always competitive, and just really close. And so athletics was a big part of my backdrop. So always had coaches, always had mentors, always had people in my life. My story is not that no one believed in me, no one saw anything in me, but it was the complete opposite. I always had great expectations on my life. And there's a warfare that comes along with great expectations on your life at a young age and not wanting to let people down. That's a whole nother narrative that I don't think we pay attention to, and we don't realize that there can be some devastating trauma connected to that if that young person doesn't know how to develop that. And so I struggled with that, with the anxiety of disappointing people. My father struggled with the drug addiction throughout my childhood, heroin. That's the reason why him and my parents split up. And so I observed him and my uncles, the most influential men in my life, give their lives to drugs and pimping and all that. And so I had competing narratives going on as to who I am and what the future for me is supposed to look like. And so, but long story short, I knew that my way out was going to be athletics. So I got a football scholarship. I went to Virginia Jr University. Shout out to the CIAA conference. I got in a high-speed chase with Virginia State Troopers and completely had to leave school and get a real job back in New Jersey. I was facing 1 year jail time. By the grace of God, they suspended it, but I owed the state of Virginia like $7,000. So I started working in a hospital, pushing around dead bodies for almost about a year, and just made God a promise. Like, my life got to be more than just this, because I had to ask myself the question, when you're dealing with dead bodies, you start to ask yourself, what is my life going to look like? What are people going to say about my life when I'm dead? What is that dash between my birthday and my date of death? What is that dash going to signify? And I know we're going to get to that a little bit later, because that's what we're here to talk about. And I made God a promise. Like, if you give me another chance, I promise I'll do things right. I got another call from the same coaching staff. They went to St. Paul's College. Big up St. Paul's College, all my St. Paulites out there, CIAA, you already know what it is. Went out there, they named me their starting quarterback and captain of the football team. And I balled out, man. I had a good time, good experience out there. I play as Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Epsilon Gamma Chapter. You already know what it is to all the brothers out there, bro. And bugged out. I did well, then I completely lost focus of who I was and what my assignment was. Long story short, mismanaged my money. Didn't have enough money to finish school, so I dropped out and I was homeless for about 8 years.
Wow.
My pastor, Bishop S.Y. Younger, shout out to the Ramp Church International. I'm giving shout outs everywhere, giving honor where it's due.
I see.
He essentially pulled me in and began discipling me and gave me an opportunity to begin to start exploring who I was outside of my failed collegiate / athletic career. And I found my space within administration in the ministry. And so I began to grow, and different opportunities opened up for me to be able to serve in the community as a community programmer, developer, and opportunities opened up for me to take on different administrative positions, doing a whole bunch of things that a kid with no degree had no business doing.
Wow.
And so, so that's the premise of kind of what snapped me into the space to where I begun doing different administrative work and really beginning to grow and develop professionally in my skill set.
Nice. And it's interesting how, how we see people's journeys in life take or what have you. You never know what shift your life could have taken if you would have been in jail for a year, or getting so off focus and then staying off focus or what have you. So what essentially was the light bulb moment for you to get it, lack of a better term, get it together, get it in order so that you can go after, what your life is actually meant to do?
I'm gonna be honest with you. I think we see life as like a movie, and a lot of times it is, and sometimes we like to think that there's like one pivot moment, like there's one yaha, eureka moment. And in all actuality, sometimes we have those pivot moments that allow us to cover a significant amount of ground before we have to have another one. Indeed. To take us another segment, because like we learn our lesson, we get this eureka moment, and we choose to journey strong in the right direction. And somewhere in that journey, we lose sight and we deviate, and we have to deal with some stuff, and things get a little dark, and you kind of get into this place of depression. And then there has to be an aha God moment where you see the light and you come out and you get determined again and go a little bit further out. And so my life has been a bunch of those different moments, but the most consistent thing is that regardless of how dark moments got, they have always been the catalyst to me getting glimpses of great light that quicken me into realizing that I can't go down here. My story can't end like this.
Right.
Me knowing that there's something better, there's something bigger, there's something ahead of me that's still pulling me and won't allow me to stay down.
Right.
Even though I'm well aware of all of the things that I don't have, of all the degrees I don't have, of all the connections I don't have, of all the money I don't have, of all the things that disqualify me and make me feel unworthy of what's next, there's still yet something in my inner knower that won't let me stay down. And It seemed like every time I chose to stand up, there was something outside of me that was yet still working within me that allowed me to show up and be present and be blown away by opportunities I haven't merited and I don't deserve, whether that be through some relationship where somebody just is able to observe me in my element and they see something in me and wanting to learn more about me and realizing that there's an opportunity and want to figure out how to help me, how to connect me. I tell people this all the time. Ever since I got out of college, I haven't had to apply for one job.
Wow.
There's people, I remember there was like a board that wanted me on. Like, yeah, can you send us over your resume? I was like, I don't have a resume. I could send you over my speaker proposal. You know, I could send you over, I can send you over a writer. I could send you over, I don't have it. And it's not me. And I pray you hear my heart. It's
Right.
I'm not bragging on myself. I'm bragging on the God that has always made like some unique way for me. And that's been the confirmation that I was stepping into something that was for me. And so, yeah, that's been it. I think for me, if I had to mark down one of the most significant moments, I'm sorry I did all that to bring you here, but that was probably for somebody. You can't stay down. There's something greater that's pulling on you. There was a moment where I'm gonna be honest with you. A challenge of mine has, especially when I was younger. I'm blessed now. God blessed me with a beautiful fiance. We're about to get married and probably have 1 million kids. No, I'm lying. We probably gonna have 2 because we already have a son.
Indeed.
But
Congratulations.
yeah, right. But I was in a younger stage of my conversion where I was struggling with being promiscuous, and I was serving as personal assistant to my bishop, and I was living with him, so I was observing his life, and this dude is really living right. People really getting healed, people really getting what they need. And I remember it was time for us to prepare to run a revival somewhere in North Carolina. And so I'm in his house and we're packing up his bag and we're getting ready to go. And I prepared myself to give him this speech of my resignation. I was like, Bishop, I'm sorry, but I can't do this with you no more. He's like, what were you talking about? I said, nah, this past weekend, I got connected with some females and I bugged out and I see you doing your thing and I don't want to bring a reproach to the ministry and none of that. So I got to step back from the ministry. And he said, okay, I don't got a whole bunch of time, but listen to me. What you did was stupid. It was dumb.
Right.
But listen to me. Though it was stupid, it's not greater than where you got to go. So finish packing my bag because we got somewhere we got to be.
We got something to be.
Shifted my life.
Indeed.
Shifted my life for me to realize that regardless of how stupid the traps and the scenarios that I find myself in, that I lead myself in, that they're not greater than the great places that I yet still have to step into. And that's always stayed with me because I'd like to communicate that I've never found myself in another foolish situation, making a dumb decision or whatever the case may be. But I've always been reminded in those moments where I feel down and want to slip into a dark place where I'm no longer progressing forward, I have to remind myself to hold up. Though what I did was stupid, it's not greater than where I got to go. So let's get up and keep going.
Wow. I love it. And it's the truth. We do get in a moment when we lose sight and lose focus based on a mistake. And then we get stuck there and we stay there in that regard. And, you're going to have to get up. You're going to have to move. You're going to have to rise up in that regard. And I was coining a phrase that I came up with about maybe about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I was like, you got to rise up and take your rightful place or be replaced. There's no real option to it. God has already birthed your replacement in the earth already. And if you do not take up and take your rightful place, he has billions at his disposal. And if we think that, if we just sit down and do whatever we want to do, how we want to do it, when we want to do it, and think that your life is not expendable to a God that created all things, you are sadly delusional, And so, that's good that you did get that epiphany through your leader to tell you that there's more to life than just your mistake, and that's not the it all and be all. You messed up, repent, get it over, move on, turn from it and not do it again. And let's keep moving. And I think a lot of people will probably not necessarily. I think a lot of people will get a better understanding of life once they get that understanding, not the okay to sin or to make the mistake, but the okay that life is going to come with mistakes. Life is going to come with failures, and it's such as life or what have you. But you don't stay there. you get
No,
up.
they're
And keep
teachers.
moving.
No. They're teachers, and especially when you can begin to weigh the mistake in comparison to the destination, the
Indeed.
mistake in comparison to the objective, and when you weigh them, the objective, the goal for where you have to wind up is always going to outweigh. It's always going to be weightier. It's always going to be heavier than what it
Indeed.
is that you've been trapped up in temporarily. Because I believe that the objective for all of us is to leave a lasting impression,
Indeed.
to be able to make a mark, to make an indention, to make an impact that far surpasses our time here on the earth.
Right.
And so that's what we're talking about. That's the reason why we can't be sideswiped or sidelined by a mistake, because we're legacy builders.
Indeed.
We're building something for generations after us to benefit from. And so if our focus is that what I'm doing is developing the framework for those that are coming up behind me, I can't let them down.
Absolutely.
They're depending on me to give them an advantage within a scenario that they're going to find themselves in.
Absolutely.
And I think more so, and I know right now we're in the midst of social unrest in the country, right? From a racial dynamic, and when we begin to study the unique makeup of the Black American, there's a very unique dynamic that the Black American experienced through their enslavement outside of any other enslaved demographic previously in the world. It's ancient. Yeah, I know. Some people try to downplay. Yeah, indentured servanthood. No. That was an agreement between the person that came into bondage, knowing that it was only for a matter of time to pay off a debt. Whole nother scenario. But one of the key things that happened was I was talking to a friend of mine, and what I've been calling it is the intellectual dehumanization of individuals. We were intellectually dehumanized. And so for that reason, there's so much of a framework that we were missing strategically.
Right.
So that every generation after us would be deficient, not as a result of capability and ability, but as it pertained to infrastructure.
Indeed.
They when we talk about the fundamentals of culture, of origin, we were constantly being dismembered and pulled into different places to where the family structure was under attack. So now you have Black people floating around feeling like islands because they don't have any family. They don't have a family name to be connected to. There's the community's fragmented. So it's making people feel like they're just out there alone and not having a people group that they have to sacrifice for. And that's what it was attempted to do, not realizing that the sense of community was so strong that the folks came together and developed surrogate families, and they began investing for each other. And so there's a big pull now for us socioeconomically for us to be building out a framework for our descendants to be able to have some privilege in this country as well.
Indeed. Absolutely. Well, we're gonna pause here for a quick moment.
I'm sorry for that rant. I'm sorry for that.
Oh no, you good. But we're gonna pause here for a quick moment. Take our moment to get some little advertisements out so we can pay the bills, and we're gonna come back with you in just a moment. Just stay tuned as we go into our announcement. Thank you guys for watching and tuning in for all the different platforms that are watching. With that being said, Legacy Builder series is getting ready to take Legacy Builder series to a whole nother level and platform in that regard. And so we're looking for people that can be able to partner with us and to help us take this this show on a global platform and some other things that's on the pipeline. And so we're looking for LBS partners, Legacy Builder Series partners that will partner with us to help us take it global. Now, we do have the information here on the screen, but if you need to, if you want to partner with us by a different means, feel free to inbox us or message us in that regard, and we'll get you the appropriate information to help you be a partners. We're going to have different Patreon things that we're going to be giving away in that regard. We're going to have different things that you'll have accessibility to that the general public won't be have access to. And so there's going to be some things that's going to be down the pipeline that you definitely want to partner with us on. Some things I can't share with you just yet, but I guarantee you going into season 2, everything is going to be very clear in what it is that we're doing. And so you coming along with us now while we're pretty much on the ground, in the ground process, you're going to help us take the series to the next level. Now, say that you're not able to be a partner, but you want to advertise with us. We do have means to be able to allow you to advertise a 30 to 60-second commercial on our platform and on our show, whether you have a product or service, as long as it's family friendly and not inappropriate for families or anything of that sort, we can assist you there. So take a screenshot of the information and details that you see there. Now, if you do not have a 30 or 60-second commercial created and you need some assistance with that, Fourg Virtual Effects Studios, which is actually my company, can assist you with getting that video created for you for your 30 to 60-second slot. And so if you're interested with that, feel free to see the email listed there, and we'll be able to give you more details on how you can advertise your product or service with on the Legacy Builders series show. So, guys, thank you guys for watching. We are coming into the second half of our segment, and I do apologize. Some things didn't happen exactly according to plan with the show today, but nevertheless, our guest is with us today. And if you're coming on, no worries. If you miss half of the show, you can go back and watch the replays. You can watch it on any other platforms in that regard. And so let me go ahead and properly introduce my guest of the hour, and then we're going to come back on with him to talk more about him and how he's building and creating legacy. Stay tuned.
Legacy Builder, Walter Virgil Jr., Vice President of Business Development at Extra Solutions Staffing, Founder and CEO of Walter Virgil and Associates LLC, and Founder and CEO of Get Fresh and Live. Stay tuned as we experience the journey of how Walter Virgil Jr. built his legacy.
All right, my friend. Thank you for staying tuned as we took our little commercial break and do a proper introduction to you. So we were talking a little bit about your history and how you came up and how you had moments of mistakes and how you didn't allow those mistakes to detour you from the focus of who you are and what you're meant to be in life in that regard. And so you forward streamed ahead. You also talked about your different educational background, but one thing you didn't mention is what you studied. Now, what you studied, did that have any connection to what you're doing in your career path as of now?
Yeah, I was actually a sociology major, political science minor, and it had everything to do with everything.
Nice.
I think in high school I was exposed to psychology, and I realized, that's not for me. Like I felt like psychology was a joke. This is why I say that. I was an at-risk youth. I was subjected to child study team evaluations. I had IEPs. They assessed me as having all types of learning deficiencies. And so I was constantly being assessed by psychiatrists.
Wow.
And I knew how to keep them out of my business. And so I would tell them what they needed to hear, but I would totally create narratives around what I was really feeling and thinking. Wow. And so I knew that you needed a certain level of honest cooperation from your subject in order for you to really do your job well and get to the bottom of truth. unless you're like some just prophetic psychiatrist that can read through what the person is not sharing with you. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So I had at that time, I had no respect for psychiatry through my own trauma, but I respected the notion of what was on the other end of that field study, and that was sociology, the study of what goes on, because psychology is a study of what goes on in a person's mind that influences them to do the things that they do. Right? I was like, you got to get in there. Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not as solid as what's on the other end, sociology, the study of what goes on in a person's environment that influences them to do the thing they do. Now, I realize that's something that you really can't get away from. No, your mother was an alcoholic. Your dad was strung out on drugs. Your people was living in the streets. Regardless of how you're developing, that is impacting you in a very real way. Now, if you triumph over that, awesome. That further speaks to your internal fortitude. But for the fact that there's certain nuances of your life that play a part in sculpting your mind that you can't run from, I just found that fascinating. And so my kick is learning people's individual stories. And being able to see the distinguishments between people and completely detest the idea of generalizing groups of people. And so that played everything into my ability to come into a situation and to assess those social dynamics that exist within that scenario before I even begin to formulate my approach of engagement. And so that formal education begun to translate over into my natural application of just doing life with people. And so for that reason, it doesn't matter what the subject matter is that I'm responsible for delivering or facilitating. At the end of the day, I'm always taking an inventory on who's in front of me, understanding what's important to them to determine what my angle and what the levels of engagement are going to actually look like as it pertains to that room, and not using any other previous experience as a reference point for how I'm going to move there, and trusting what's inside of me to be relevant there. And so that's the value that I bring, and I'm grateful for my educational experience, because it really refined that and allowed me to understand from a clinical standpoint what that is, because growing up where I'm from, you learn how to boop, 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 boop. A lot of times it's conning people, because it's not righteous, but there's a gift in there that if you can begin to switch the motive, it can be one of the greatest assets that an individual can actually have. And by the grace of God, my spiritual development shifted my motives and my intentions, and took all of those qualities that I used to manipulate people to really begin to mobilize people into some of the decisions that they need to make in order to be able to experience true empowerment.
Wow. Very, very interesting. And that's interesting that you use a tool that was meant that people use to manipulate, but to empower in that regard. So with that being said, how did entrepreneurship play a part? I mean, when did you get inspired, or was that something that was always a part of your life, that you saw an example of that, and that you decided to make this a career path? How did that work?
I mean, initially where I'm from, everybody's an entrepreneur. Everybody hustling something, even if you're not hustling drugs.
Right.
You selling DVDs, you selling CDs, you selling incense, you selling oils. You feel what I'm saying? Now you got to hook up for some, for some sneakers or whatever. Like, everybody's figuring out a way. Females doing hair, they doing braids. You feel what I'm saying? People washing cars. But a lot of what I was exposed to was individuals making money outside of the mainstream economy. Because unfortunately, individuals that I grew up around couldn't afford to pay the Fed their cut.
Right.
And so not really a fan of being subjected to that level of taxation. That's just the culture I grew up in. But never in myself thought I'd be running a business. And I'm like, I don't got time for that. I just want to provide my service, find somewhere I could work and da 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 da. But the more I begin to grow and develop, you know, because in college I was a quarterback, I was SGA president, I was always in different areas of leadership. And the reason why is because naturally problem solving was a very real part of who I was. Problem solving, crisis management, you know,
Right.
being able to have real confrontations with people, you know, being able to know how to break hard news to individuals and to be able to hold my ground, you know, naturally prepared me to be an administrator. You know, and so the more I begin to kind of excel there, opportunities availed themselves for me to be able to take on specific ventures that I knew would be lucrative. And so it wasn't difficult for me to transfer
Right.
those skill sets into those opportunities and to manage the individuals and the systems necessary to undergird those ventures. And so for me, it was a natural progression that came along with the development of my skill set that triggered certain things that were already kind of embedded in me through what I was exposed to, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
So was it something that you were doing freely that you realized that, you know what, I could be making money off of this, you know, that you decided to actually make this, you know, an actual legitimate business versus just giving it away freely?
Okay, all right. So that's ain't nobody ever asked me that before because I never thought about it. But I think for a lot of people, including myself, I was so eager to explore the capacity of my skill set, you know,
Right.
that I was just grateful that I was getting opportunities to work with different organizations, to work with different companies, and to be able to share my insight as it pertained to effective programming and systems of sustainability. You know, because I'm like, I don't got a college degree. I don't have none of these certifications or qualifications to do this outside of the field work that I had under my belt, you
Right.
know. But I started to have some of my advisors pull me to the side. I was like, hold up, time out. You just got called in to a strategic planning session with our regional healthcare provider, and you didn't walk away with a check. And he had to pull me to the side. I said, son, hold, stop. Do you understand what you just did? What you gave them, they have it budgeted to pay at bare minimum $2,500 for a 30-minute session for what you gave them.
Wow.
The information that you just gave them activated strategy for a multi-million-dollar project, and you just saved them money and time.
Indeed.
And it was like, and it was like, when that hit me, I was like, okay, that sounds good, but I can't find the gall in me to ask for $2,500 for what I do, because I feel like I don't deserve that. But it took me but it took me about 7 years of development to be able to see that no. I wasn't educated by an institution. I've been educated through interaction and legitimate field experience. The very things that those individuals out of those institutions need in order to make that money. So I got what they need. I just don't have what they were able to attain in the institution. And so at the end, we begun to see within the past 6 years, we begun to see a big swing into the world of consultation, and the prerequisites that individuals and companies are looking for are not necessarily credentials. They're looking for people that get results.
Indeed. Absolutely.
And so I begun to develop at the cusp of the development of that phase of the industry with individuals that were in those Fortune 500 companies that were building up my confidence. Like, no, what you have is necessary. Like how you came in here to our boardroom and how you just didn't give us information. You actually gave us an experience. You know what I'm saying? Where everybody on the edge of their seat, you got us laughing, you're sharing data, you're giving us insight, you're giving us live case studies, you're telling us these stories, you're actually communicating the effectiveness of your theory and your practice. They're like, kid, you got the whole package. We just want to pay you to come back to make us feel the way you made us felt during the middle of our workday.
Right.
And the more and more I begun to realize, like, that was my gift, the way I could make people feel and the way I can connect them to information to be able to get them to the point to where they can now master concepts based upon my interaction and engagement. So now they have a full scale of understanding and perspective as it pertains to a subject matter that they were once ignorant to. And so, and so it's just been, but for me, every opportunity has built up my confidence. Every opportunity built up my sense of my value. Every opportunity built up the confidence to actually ask for what I'm worth, because during the process, I discovered the value of what I have to give. So for me, I'm gonna be honest with you, this is something that just didn't turn on. This is a confidence that came with an understanding of the industry, of the market, and the value of the substance that I have to contribute, and me having to catch up, and my insecurities having to catch up with the value.
Yes, absolutely. Wow. Absolutely. I mean, I can attest to the same thing, that I was giving it away freely, not realizing the value in what I had. And it was a person, individual, and another watching, and I know they're going to laugh when I share this, said to me, you know what, you always sound like, always talk like you know everything, like you got all the answers in that regard. And at that moment, what they didn't realize was, out of that conversation birth a company. Actually, I actually established this company before Legacy Builder Series, but it's actually called Legacy Brand Consulting. And what I do through that company is help people understand what their businesses are, their ministries, or whatever, their product, their service, and how to either start it, build it, or expand it, or come to an exit strategy in that regard. And so I was giving out information to people freely, and just like you just found out, like you could have been getting a check for the information, because they pay people for information. They have the ability to do the research themselves. They have the ability to read a book, but they want to get insight from individuals that have lived a life, that have experienced it over 10 years, 5 years, 20 years, 50 years of life, that they don't have to go through that process themselves, so that they can learn that insight from you because of your experience, because of going through that. And so it's really interesting how, you had that, that moment of saying, you know what, I could be making money off of this and be able to empower people and to enlighten them and still get paid and to still do what I love, because it's a part of what I do and who I am, so I think that's amazing.
Because the real empowerment piece was when I had a stranger, right? There was our regional newspaper did an article on me and the work that I was doing in the jails, right? Because a part of my programming implements curriculum in cultivating that healthy self-perception that leads into soft skills, life skills, job readiness type of track. That's really the work that I'm married to. That's not my job. That's my work. And there's a distinction between the two. Okay. Maybe some other time we can talk about that. But Get Fresh and Live, that's my work. That's who I am. That's my contribution to the earth. Okay.
Indeed.
And so it was during that time that I was doing that work, and the local newspaper highlighted it. It was really, really awesome article. I think it was called like lessons, lessons from the jailhouse teacher or something like that. It was really dope. They did a really awesome job.
Wow.
But it dropped, right? Great response. Oh my goodness. I received just a lot of love and support, and it was just a really emotional time because I was questioning my own value, and I came into one of my favorite coffee shops, and there was a gentleman who, was there and looked up and took a double glance and looked at me again. And he was like, hey, I read about you today. I was like, oh man, that's dope, man. What's up, man? My name's Walter. He was like, yeah, my name's da 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 da. He was like, yeah, I like to buy you a coffee. I was like, cool. He sat me down and he was like, yeah, so what type of consultation work you doing? I'm like, consultation work? I'm not doing no consultation work. Mind you, this is about like 3 years ago. Like, I'm not doing no real consultation work. I'm just providing this service, man. This is where my heart is. He was like, I want to show you something. He showed me the work that he's been doing. He's partnered with the sheriff department of the state of Indiana. And he's developed this foolproof program and training for statewide sheriff departments to be able to tap into developing an emergency plan for an on-campus active shooter. He developed a whole protocol for making sure your school system is prepared for an on-campus shooter.
Wow.
And he built the whole thing out and did it for the entire state of Indiana. The entire state of Indiana, they have a protocol established by this guy. And he was taking it into Pennsylvania as well. And so going state by state by state by state. He said, bro, do you understand that what you're doing is a service at a really high level? And for individuals that are at the bottom of the totem pole of your industry, this is what they're getting paid at a base. Technically, with your skill set, this is what you need to be coming in at. Change the game. Because my thing from like, what do I ask? Like, what is the price? Where do I begin? Because I don't want to lowball myself because I'm stuck there. I don't want to highball myself. Like, what's the ask? What is the industry norm base? How do I gauge myself within my industry? Those were the things I couldn't even begin to answer. But this dude sat down with me for 2 hours and laid it out to stranger, white man.
Wow.
Sat down with me, said, nah, bro, based off of what I'm seeing you do, you're one of the best people that I've come in contact with as it pertains to what you do. You are an expert at being able to help these individuals that are broken see the value within themselves and ignite them to be able to engage the rest of their life. He says, think about it. How much money can you place on somebody's life being transformed by what you share with them? You can't put a price on that.
Exactly.
And if that's what you're really delivering, you can't be afraid of the price point you come out with because you deliver. Shifted my life, man. Shifted my life.
Wow.
So I don't know who's listening, what you're listening to. I got to admit something. I didn't study my industry because I didn't see myself as a part of the industry.
Right.
And so for you guys out there that are watching this, you have to begin to see yourself as an active member of your industry. It doesn't matter if you don't have 1,000 followers. It don't matter if you got 200 followers. If you're contributing value into an industry and you're actively engaged in a work within the industry bubble, you are a part of that industry, and you have to begin to see what's the market value for the service you provide within your region.
Indeed. Absolutely.
Start with a number. Start if you feel a little off about it, find the bottom and start about $50 on top of that. And put it out there, because he shares something with me. He says that number is not going to feel real until the moment somebody pays for it. And the moment somebody pays at that price point, it justifies your price point.
Absolutely.
Shifted me. It shifted me. So I'm sorry if I'm disappointing if somebody's out there and you were expecting a more seasoned entrepreneur. I'm a young man that's going through a real journey, a real process. And I'm gonna be honest with you. My responsibility is to first be honest and bring you in to where I'm at in the midst of the journey, so that when God does bring me to this greater place, you guys can be able to see that it was a real journey and it's not a microwave thing. I've been working on my vision for the past 8 years. I've only been flying in it for the past 3.
Wow.
It's been documented. All of my content has been documented since 2012.
Wow.
All of it.
This is great. Right.
All of it. All of it, everything. You know, you say, write the vision, make it plain, get as vivid as you can, so that individuals that are called to come and to run with instructions can read what you wrote and get to working on the very thing that you once saw that was abstract, but you brought it into concrete form. And I did that. I did all of that, but ain't nothing happened. And so I felt like I missed God. I felt like maybe this isn't the thing. I felt like maybe I'm not where I'm supposed to be. Maybe I'm in the wrong direction, not realizing that the vision had to be written, but the process was just beginning. That would lead me into being cultivated into the person that could actually handle the weight and the responsibility of the impact that this vision was going to make.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so for you guys that are out there, you're visionaries, because you have to be in order to be a part of this clan. You know, you've established your vision. Now you're frustrated with a lack of manifestation. Could it be that the piece that's missing to this puzzle is the process that you're supposed to be yielded and submitted to, that's designed to cultivate the character and the integrity that's going to undergird and sustain your talent? Yes, you're talented.
Absolutely.
Yes, you're talented, but your talent can take you to places that underdeveloped character integrity can't keep you.
Absolutely.
And so that's what this whole thing is about. It's not about this whole, if it's a game, it's not about attainment. It's about sustainment.
Right. Indeed.
Because the number one thing I'm looking for with my young guys, I got a bunch of talented young brothers around me. I love being around talented brothers. I'm not intimidated by awesomeness. I'm inspired by it. I'm fueled by it. It speaks to me. If I'm surrounded by weak yes people, that speaks concerning me, and that speaks concerning me being weak and insecure. But I love strong, sharp people that challenge me. You know, and so there's something really interesting that begins to happen in these spaces, and I begin to learn that when these guys do something great, I praise them. I'm big into praising people. When they do something awesome, I'm always about talking about what's awesome about them. But the $1 million question that I put behind them is, that was great, but my question to you is, can you do it again?
Can you do it again? Wow. This is some great stuff. I tell you, this is good stuff. It's great, because a lot of the things that you're saying, I say the same things, and we haven't had any real in-depth conversations. It's really important in the things that you just shared, because especially as believers, we get so caught up in the end goal and the end objective. When we see things prophetically, when we get a vision, it is the end thing. It is not the process in between, the dash in between the start and the finish. And we get so enamored with the finish and not the process to get to the finish. There is work. There is a process. Anybody that has run a race, there is training, there is eating right, there is, constantly getting up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and working hard. Is a work ethic that's really important to that. Yeah. And if you don't, just like you said about your character, your integrity, your work ethic, these are the things that's going to keep you in the door, not just your gift. You're gifted. That's great. But what is going to sustain you? What is going to build the momentum in what it is that you're doing? And that is great that you even, have understanding to that. Another thing that I thought that it was really great in what you said is that a complete stranger came to you and sat down with you for 2 hours to bring you clarity of understanding the value in who you have and who you are. And that is so God in it, that when you don't even realize who you are or understand who you are or your potential, that he will bring a complete stranger. And then on top of that, somebody of a different race that you would think not identify you, to have a conversation with you to bring clarity to that. And I think that that's amazing, because I've been in situations like that as well, that in the midst of either, life or trials or whatever that was going on in my life, God will bring somebody, and then comes to find out they were actually an angel unaware. Because you probably never seen that person again. They probably disappeared right after your meeting. And I've had instances like that as well, that, that was really helping shift you into the purpose that you were intended. Kind of remind me of that movie. Oh my God, what is the movie? It's a movie about these different angel type characters that will come in and try to shift you, because in this book they see your path, and if you do something to meet this person, it'll veer you off this path. I got to remember the name of the movie. I love the movie.
When you get it, share it with me, because I want to see that. That's
yeah. What is his name? Did you see the movie The Banker?
Yeah,
it just came out. Okay, the lead character in The Banker, I can't remember his name. He plays in this movie.
Okay,
but yeah, I'll definitely send you that link. And it came out probably maybe 5 or 6 years ago. But but this movie is literally based on these angel type characters. They wear these hats, and that's how they able to go through doors and connect to you. And when they connect to you, when you are veering off the path, what God has intended for you, they'll cause something to bring you right back into focus. And it's really interesting how that happened, how that happened to you, to bring you perspective, and then understand the value. How do you really put a dollar amount on your service or your knowledge or your experience? That's I kind of had to come to that as well. But what validates it is just like what he said: when that person pays for it the first time, it's like, okay, we got something. We're rolling with something, because they see your potential and they see your value.
Listen, the moment that somebody pays, people out here paying me to do this.
Yes,
it shifts everything. And the thing is, and mind you, this is something I do want to share with somebody as well. Because thing is, I can just feel who's watching this and who's gonna be watching this, and I gotta share this with you. Don't lose sight of what the objective is, and that's to impact as many people as possible.
Indeed.
Okay, whatever your model is. And there's moments where you charge, and there's other moments where you realize that you have an opportunity to be able to sow your way into a door. Okay, I'm just stick with me for a moment. I realized that there was some dynamics in my local public school system, to where there was a new administration came in that actually pushed all in-service support out of the school and just brought one organization in to take care of all in-school support. So that's any type of psychiatry, any type of alternative support within the school system. They use one agency to do all of that. So all of the other mentoring programs, behavioral service programs, they were no longer able to go into the school system.
Wow.
And so, but I knew that I had an assignment in the school system, because I just rock with the kids in another way. So initially I got into the juvenile detention center, and there's an extension of our public school system that's implemented within there to keep the kids, that the educational component of the detention center. So I was in there, but I realized that I needed to sign a pro bono contract with the principal at the juvenile detention center. Right. And so, because they were looking for community partners to come and, encourage the kids, I'm like, boom, I'll do that. They saw my curriculum. They realized, oh, snap, we can actually put this in during health as like personal development. So I was able to get in, but in my pro bono, it shows my market rate. Because even though you're sowing something into somebody, it's important that they know the value of what they're getting, not for free. You're sowing it into them. I'm trying to help somebody. Because the thing is, because there'll come a time where there'll have to be compensation for the service that you're sowing. But in some situations, it's all about getting in the door and allowing people to see the quality of what you have to offer by allowing them to begin the process of experiencing results that they're not able to get from any other resource outside of what you bring. And so that's what I did, right? They said, wow, okay, this is great. They saw what my rate was. They're like, ooh, okay, we're grateful that you're donating your time to us. And so now they're handling me at a very high level, with making sure all of my times are being submitted according to the protocol that I had established and meeting all the criteria to get me there, because now they see the value in my time.
Right. Indeed.
Simultaneously, I do the very same thing with one of our alternative schools. No service is able to get in there, but I realized I'm supposed to be in there. The principal of the school called me because one of the young people in their program, in their school, was actually part of a program that I facilitated in the summer and shifted her whole mentality. And she was the one to speak to them about my program, because when the kids come back from school, they're like, so-and-so, how was your summer? She's, a cutter, put her shirt over her face, don't want to talk to nobody. And people know how she get down. Her response was, my summer was amazing. They're like, what the world you experience? And she testified about her experience with me. So they reached out and said, listen, we heard about what you got. What can we work out? I said, listen, I have a pre-existing pro bono contract with the Juvenile Detention Center. They're in Lynchburg City Schools. I'll send you over the same agreement as well, because I think it's important that I'm just in there with your kids. They signed it. They saw it. So they complied with my protocol, with the arrangements with me, because they now value my time as well. But it was getting me in a door I wanted to be in anyway. So I put in a full school year with both of them. Super results. They saw the kids turn over and everything. And I got both of them to generate a report reflective of their engagement with my program, so I could leverage that for future references. So now I need you to realize I donated probably about probably about 4 hours a month in total. But I was able to walk away with the school year's amount of results and references directly from the principals of both of these different entities to now speak on behalf of my business model to the rest of the paying audience that exists. Indeed. So now this is what happened because there's two windows that open up. With the Juvenile Detention Center, the principal got connected and invited me to speak to a retreat group. I didn't know who these people were. I got in there just to discover that these are the Virginia Department of Education, state operated executives, leaders. They had a retreat. I went in there. I was just myself. We laughed. We cried. It got real. And out of that, I didn't realize that the director was in there. And she was somebody that wasn't trying to get with me at first. But I'm apostolic. I'm Pentecostal. If you're trying to shut down on my preaching, I'm going to make you part of my illustration. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And so she got with me because I just had the boldness not to back off her, but to push up on her. And she respected it. And so at the end of I got tons of reviews from them. I had my video team there. And she walks up behind me as I'm talking to a group of the principals. He said, guys, I think we found our keynote for our statewide conference. And everybody was like, yeah. She booked me that very day for the Virginia Department of Education conference series that I just did this summer. That ended up paying 4 times my rate. Well, anyway, it was my rate. They paid it 4 separate times because I did 4 separate stops for them.
Indeed.
That to the side. Now with the empowered, with the alternative school, now what that did was it opened up a door now with the local regional business alliance to now come on board and say, listen, we have some business partners in the community, some corporate partners that are willing to sustain your program throughout a school year for Lynchburg City Schools. So how much? And so I wanted to put that, I had to, and please thank you for allowing me to share that, but I had to paint that picture for somebody out there to allow you to see that you have to be intentional about what opportunities you have to sow into in order for you to get through that door.
Indeed.
because on the front end, people are taking a risk if they pay for your services on the front end, especially when you're dealing with state and federal entities or organizations, right? They're taking a risk. But what happens
Indeed.
when you eliminate that risk by allowing them to experience results?
Mm.
Now they realize that you now have to be a priority because they want to sustain those results that you just brought to them for a temporary amount of time, because they want to stretch out that time frame where there's consistent results being had within their facility. And so now you become a priority.
Mm.
And so I don't know who that's for, Ace. I don't know, but I had to share that. No, go after that, don't lose your value, charge,
Right.
but don't be so drunken with trying to make that right now money, because what can
Right.
happen is what's going to happen right now. By the grace of God, I got over 58 leads from state operated programs in the state of Virginia that want my programming.
Right.
And they just don't want it for a one-time bang. They want to make it a part of their curriculum. They want to sustain the engagement long term.
Long term.
And that's the objective. Those are the type of partnerships you want. You don't want a contract, you want a partnership.
Indeed. Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
So yeah, I wanted to share that, but Ace, that's what I've been learning, man. And it's been a blessing, but I'm a student of this. Totally. I'm an expert in my experience.
Right.
I mean, I have PhDs, but I'm an expert in my experience. And I find unique ways to leverage my experience to be profitable and educational to individuals that have to engage and desire to impact young people that are living out an experience that I already survived.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I realized that's my value in this. Listen, I'm that kid that made it. And I'm that kid that remembered my experience and what didn't work, but I do remember what did work. Let's talk.
Absolutely.
Let's talk. So yeah. So I just pray that in some way, shape, or form, somebody was able to kind of see themselves in that whole breakdown, and that in some way, shape, or form you can profit.
Indeed. And one thing that I want to point out in what he said, and I want to kill the misnomer. He said he was giving service away, donating them away, but he was strategic in who he was sowing into. Not everybody.
I wasn't donating away. I was investing in myself concerning specific doors. Indeed. I was trying to get into.
Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. And that's exactly what I was just getting ready to state, that he was very strategic, because, you have people that are leeches and they want to just get, could you give? But he was strategic because it was about a strategic partnership that was going to bring connections to something else that he could be able to use and leverage that relationship towards building something else. And so so take note in that regard. You have to be strategic in who you give certain things to. Yes, they might have money, they might have resources, but giving away certain things to people with money might open up doors for you, or connections, or just a piece of paper with their name and their signature on it can leverage resources for you. As simple as a paper, or as simple as an email, something with a legal letterhead on will have the ability to add value to you. So that, I think that's
just
really
a review
really
on your
important.
website. Just a
Indeed.
review on your website. I'm saying the right review, because you can leverage a review. You can leverage a review within my package. I wish I would have sent over my speaker proposal for the sake of education of somebody that is looking to develop a proposal for themselves, and to know what that's supposed to look like when you're going after those government contracts. And I think maybe that can be another space. Because I needed somebody to educate me concerning that. You'll be able to see that outside of the descriptions of the services, of who I am, of the people that I've worked with, the organizations I've worked with, one of the key dynamics are the reviews that I have, and they're from directors of athletic departments, of college teams that I've dealt with, principals, whomever. And so even you just being able to have a review from somebody, it doesn't matter if they stood in front of you with your cell phone and they're saying 15 seconds of, today I had an awesome time with Ace. The information that he shared with me was revolutionary. I'm taking it back to my team. Highly recommended. Really enjoyed it. Okay, can you quick just tell me your name and your title? Oh yeah.
Right.
My name is Kimberly Johnson. I'm director of strategic planning at Johnson & Johnson. Boy, do you know you could just clack, put her name, and a picture of her, because when you're taking that review, you're telling her, can I get a quick review from you? She knows she's releasing that review to you and your organization. Right. So now you can go and you can Google up Miss Johnson, Miss Jones from Johnson & Johnson, find her picture, click that money onto that review and on your website. What that look like now, somebody come on your website and they see a review from an executive from Johnson & Johnson.
Indeed. And it's legit.
Man, and so I'm just further adding, Ace, to what you're putting out there, that even being strategic in that sense, because those reviews and the people that affirm the goodness in the service that you have to offer, it adds value to you. And so for some of you guys that are building, the most important thing right now is to continue to build the value in what you have to offer. And that's one of those quick ways in which you can be able to do it.
Absolutely. Wow. Good stuff. So I know we went a little bit over the hour, but I do want to kind of go back a little bit and detail about your businesses, because that really segues more into the different services that you do have to offer. And so tell us a little bit more about the businesses, and then tell us a little bit about the services that each businesses have to offer.
Okay, all right. Let me start off with the most corporate for-profit business, and that is Extra Solution Staffing. Extra Solution Staffing was actually founded by my younger sister, who I'm so proud of. She's a genius with numbers, and so our relationship is that she's strategic with logistics, numbers, and formulas, and I'm the people person. I build strategic relationships. I'm an educator. I'm a trainer. And so there's a social entrepreneurship model that we've really kind of latched onto. We realize that we have the ability to be able to develop a workforce for the opportunities that are in our local business community, as well as invest in the individuals that we're bringing on through various forms of training. Especially when it comes to like developing just regular soft skills, job readiness, all that stuff that I already do, really being able to impute that into them, especially acknowledging the different openings that we have and some of the added trainings that an individual can have to make them more appealing for those scenarios. And so being able to work with our local reentry population, individuals coming back into the community from incarceration, the local homeless demographic, that's actually looking to get gainfully employed, and addressing a lot of those barriers that get in the way of them being considered for employment opportunities. You'd be surprised.
Indeed.
And so a big part for us is connecting people and opportunities. And a part of making that connection with the people and the opportunities is joining forces with the people and the process of navigating through their barriers so that they can actually plug into the opportunity.
Nice.
And so and so we partner with local human service organizations as it pertains to being able to aid them in the process of purchasing work boots and equipment and so on and so forth. Along with being able to tap into other organizations that can provide, hygiene, work clothes, so on and so forth, so that when we're connecting them to the opportunity, they feel well equipped. But most of all, they know that they're working for an entity that has their back and has their best interest at heart. Because since my job and my reputation is connected to me bringing quality people to a company, I have to be vested in you to even support my business model. Because my reputation in the community has to be all the people I get from Walter Virgil and Extra Solution Staffing, they come ready. And if there's an issue that we have with them, we know we can reach out to the ESS staff and they can work with us immediately to begin to problem solve and to get to the bottom of a situation. And if an individual isn't working out for us, they're quick to snatch them off the scene and bring someone else new into the situation. And so my whole focus with the individuals is being real up front with them. Like, you're either going to perform for me or I'm going to find somebody else to do it. But I'm willing to invest in you as long as you're willing to show up and be willing to do your best. Now, right now, before we go any further, I need you to let me know that you're committed to being able to grow with us. And if not, we can shake hands and we can both go our separate ways. But I'm not going to invest in you if you're not prepared to receive this investment. So it's really confrontational. But when you're dealing with certain demographics, that has to be the case. So that's kind of the groove with that. And so we create all different types of opportunities for whatever type of industry. We're independently owned, so we don't have to succumb to any corporate entity that limits the type of business opportunities we can engage in. Really, really simple business model. It's just a 25% markup of the wage of whomever is looking for someone to employ, and that encompasses workers' compensation, supplemental insurance. We pay their taxes, so on and so forth. So, so essentially, you paying that 25% markup is taking care of everything connected to them. We take care of all that HR, onboarding, training, orientation. So literally, we're bringing you someone that's ready to work.
That's good. Now, where are you guys based out of?
We're based out of Lynchburg, Virginia. That's our headquarters. But we currently have a satellite location in Atlanta, Georgia, and we can virtually do business anywhere.
Okay, good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I asked that because I do know some people that that possibly have needs for to either be a part of staffing or to either have a staffing services to support their businesses in that regard. So wanted to know if you were what regions you are, and those that are listening that do need those services, they can be able to reach out to you in those areas.
Because Ace, this is something that people don't take into consideration. It's expensive to have a staff.
Indeed.
On your payroll.
Right.
And I don't think people think about that. I think people think about the wages that they have to pay that person, but don't take on the understanding of all of the other financial responsibilities you have for that individual. Just supplemental and limited liability for a worker that you got to pay out a month. Workers' compensation, it's another that you got to pay out a month.
Right. Indeed.
Then you have to actually pay them. Then on top of that, there's a fee that you got to pay for payroll.
Right.
Regardless of what service you're using.
Absolutely.
And so it can get expensive. You could almost be paying almost double their wage just to be able to secure that individual within your organization.
Right.
You pay $10 an hour, you're probably paying that double to have that person on payroll for you.
Absolutely.
And so a 25% markup from that $10, is significant.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, that's that. Off to the side, individuals that think that's
that's good education. That's good education to know, because some people that do have businesses that want to get staffing, they need to understand that if you want to hire a staffing service to bring these people on, this is what's required. And so that's great information that you shared. So definitely. And then tell us a little bit more about.
I was saying 25%. Oh no, the devil's a liar. Oh no. I'm gonna say 35%. I'm sorry. I am over here. Oh God. And the 35% markup still. It's a steal, because really, I'm gonna be honest with you. For what we offer, we can really mark it up to about 45% because market value is 40% markup. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Okay, let's switch gears.
Yes, no problem. And then tell us a little bit more again about the Get Fresh and Live a program that you have as well.
All right, Get Fresh and Live. Now, that's my work. I don't know if you have the ability to be able to jump on the website. I know I sent you the link to that. I'm not sure if you have the ability to do that. I don't want to throw any kinks in the game plan if that's not the ability you have to do. But
I'll see.
guys,
I'll see if I can pull that up.
okay. All right. Well, guys, listen. If you get a chance, you need to go over to getfreshandlive.com. Getfreshandlive.com is going to give you an opportunity to be able to navigate through just the nuances of what our focus is. The premise of everything in our mission, please excuse me, our mission is attacking the 70. Attacking the 70. I'm like, I know a lot of you listen like, what in the world does that mean, attacking the 70? I'm glad you asked. There's a federal statistic. 70% of young men in America that don't receive a high school equivalency will wind up in a penal system by the age of 35. Mind you, 70% of all American males this refers to. Doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, Native, or Asian. If you are a male in the United States of America and you have not received a high school equivalency, federal statistic communicates that there's a 70% chance that you're going to wind up in a penal system before you're 35 years old. And so our whole focus is being able to cultivate healthy self-perception so we can begin the process of developing young men in a very strategic way to be able to ensure that they're, first of all, receiving that high school equivalency as a result of us being able to develop the game plan for them to be able to see their future and to be able to step off into a career. Okay. Indeed. And so that's what Get Fresh and Live is. When we talk about Get Fresh, and me, I got a background in fashion, so people think I'm going to be showing the young brothers how to dress. But nah, when we talk about Get Fresh, if you look at my logo, you see there's going to be a pair of spectacles on there. And so getting fresh is getting a fresh perspective of who you are, the treasure that dwells within you, and the impact that you got to make on the world around you. And so the program is designed to allow our young men to recognize and acknowledge the fact that they're influencers responsible to engage and to impact a generation of younger men that are behind them, that are watching their example. And so we're cultivating examples of masculinity that are worthy of emulation.
Wow. Great stuff. And I do apologize. I actually tried to pull it up. For some reason, it keeps kicking me out as I bring it up. So I do apologize in that regard. I would have had to preset it up prior to. But no problem. You can go. You can keep going.
And so the way that we do that is through providing educational tools. We develop educational teaching tools that can be leveraged within pre-existing organizations that already have engagement with at-risk youth, whether that be a mentoring program, whether that be a school system, whether that be a juvenile detention center, or anything else. It's important that we actually have these tools available for organizations to be able to leverage. Here locally, we run it as an actual mentoring program because this is my base, and it operates as a simulation of how other pre-existing organizations can leverage our teaching tools. But really, we're looking to be an ally to programs that are already servicing young people.
Nice.
Yeah. And so our curriculum at this point in time consists of 4 courses. Each course is actually a 6-week course that walks people through the various stages of cultivating healthy self-perception. And then the next phase of courses that we'll have will be more so life skills, soft skills that lead into career development.
Nice. Great stuff. So my 2 last final questions I want to ask you before we get ready to get out of here is what's on the horizon for you? I know you kind of led up to it a little bit, but that you're able to legally share. I'll say it that way because you might have some things that might not able to be shared.
Legally share. Yeah.
But that you know, some things that's fresh on the horizon that we can be on the lookout for in that regard. And also, I do want to say this as well. His information is been scrolling on the bottom of the screen throughout the entire show. So go ahead and follow him on Instagram, on his websites, on his YouTube channel as well. Information, again, is scrolling right here on the bottom of the screen. And so follow and blow up his information. He has a wealth of knowledge and information that's going to really assist you in doing what it is that he's doing. If you got some programs that you want to bring him in for, definitely be on the lookout for that. But back to the question, what is it that's on the horizon for you that we could be on the lookout for?
Something really unexpected. In no way, shape, or form did I think that doors in higher education would open up for me. Okay.
Nice.
I was one of my consultation deals is with our local community college. They brought me on as an adjunct professor. Mind you, I still don't got a degree.
Wow.
All right.
Same here.
I don't have a degree. Okay. But via that platform, there's been doors open for me to continue to develop content that can be leveraged within the local business community. And so we're going to continue to do that. But the most important thing that's going on right now is what I didn't perceive. I didn't perceive that the Get Fresh and Live programming, which is the name of this specific curriculum, is entitled Try the Real You, Digging Through Your Dirt to Get to Your Treasure. Okay.
Wow.
And so this is exactly what it is. It's an excavation through individuals' current trauma and the transformation of transitioning that trauma into treasure. All right.
Wow.
And so what I didn't gauge was I saw this program being implemented within pre-existing organizations that deal with at-risk youth, and that I would be providing training for members of those organizations that wanted to operate as facilitators of that programming at that facilitation. What I didn't realize was that the local institutions of higher learning in my region got wind of the fact that we're developing a facilitator training program for our curriculum in the school system. And for that reason, they wanted our programming on their online platform so they can offer it to their college students that have a vested interest in being engaged in this industry of impacting at-risk youth. So now we're in the process of going through the litigations of developing our licensure agreements that can protect the sole propriety and autonomy of all of our content, though it's being developed within the specific institution of higher learning so that it can be suitable for all of their virtual platforms. And so negotiating the initial licensure agreement and the fee connected with that, along with the revenue share per each registrant for that class for the duration of the licensure agreement, along with the prerequisite of them purchasing our textbook for the actual class. And so it's been blowing my mind that that out of the 4 institutions of higher learning in our region, 3 of them have already communicated that they want their students to have the ability to register for the program via their online platform. And so once we get these licensure agreements together, we'll be in the process of actually producing our video modules that will run in conjunction with our handbooks, man. And so we're really excited about working that through here, because essentially we're developing a model that'll be scalable, where we can now take it into any other community that has institutions of higher learning that want to begin to develop a demographic of their students that want to engage that community and already have an understanding of the programming that can be implemented within the local public school system, and they can work in conjunction with one another, because my overall objective is to secure corporate funding in order to be able to do this at no cost to the public school entities.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. I tell you, and I believe that you're going to do every bit of what it is that you're setting out to do. It's definitely coming to you. So definitely keep going after it. I mean, this just goes back to what I said earlier in of what has been on me for the last, couple of weeks about amplifying, and, that is going to amplify your reach and what it is that you're doing as well, but also doing what's required in yourself to amplify so that you can attain it. So absolutely go for it. And then my last question I want to ask you before we end the broadcast tonight is, when it's your time to ascend on and take your eternal rest in that regard, what is it that you want to be remembered by? What is it, the legacy that you want to leave behind?
Dr. Miles Monroe. I'm not sure you're familiar with him.
Indeed.
In my opinion, probably one of the most profound faith teachers that we've been blessed to have in the kingdom, probably within the past 100 years, in my opinion.
Right.
There's a concept he constantly talked about that I can never look away from, and it's a concept that he really worked with, and it's a concept, dying empty.
Right.
He shared this. He says, the most valuable real estate in the entire world, you know, not the oil fields of Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, you know, not the gold mines of Western Africa, nor the diamond mines of South Africa, you know, not the petroleum fields out there in Texas. The most
Right.
valuable real estate in the world are our neighborhood cemeteries.
Indeed.
Because in those cemeteries, you have individuals that are buried in those cemeteries that were buried with New York bestsellers that were never published.
Indeed.
Still residing within their bones. You have some of the greatest recipes never released buried in somebody there. You have some of the greatest inventions that never really came out to market that are still living in somebody. You have some of the greatest business ideas that are living in somebody, some of the greatest business conglomerates that could ever come about that never did. They're still living in the bones of somebody inside of that cemetery. And so the
Right.
objective is to live this life in such a way to where you're bringing no value to the cemetery, because you've spent this entire life finding every way possible to release every ounce of value that you have into the people you come in contact with. And in doing so, being able to share that very same notion that you've been endowed with much, with the burden to die with none of it still with you.
Right.
That's the charge. You've been given much. To whom much is given, much is required, right? Much is required. Much is required to give. Much is required to give, man. And so for that reason, I want my legacy to be is I died empty. I gave
Absolutely.
everything that I was given. That every young man, every young woman, every individual I came in contact with, that my objective was to find out what is it that's within me that I have to give to them, and to give it liberally, and not to
Right.
be guilty of having anything left with me. The greatest dynamic of the legacy that I can live is that we're laying an empty carcass in this
Right.
grave, and there's nothing left. We all got it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so I want
Absolutely.
that to be my legacy, that I left empty, and and by the grace of God, I've been able to establish and to propel individuals into their purpose, into their assignment.
Yes.
You know, and yeah. You know, that's my whole thing. You know, that's my whole thing. I believe that when individuals click into their assignment, they find their purpose. And so
Indeed.
it's individuals
Absolutely.
opportunity to be able to see themselves, man, so they can click into it.
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. One thing I want to share before we end. I was in a seminar at this business here in Georgia, and one of the questions that was asked amongst the group is, "What is your biggest fear?" And I had to sit there and ponder it for a while. And I'm like, well, I can't really think of something that's my biggest fear, because some of the things that was my biggest fear is no longer my biggest fear. So I don't know what would I say. And then it clicked. And then they asked me, I said, one of my biggest fears is dying, not fulfilling my purpose. And that is one thing I, strive to, even more so in life now, is to go after fulfilling purpose and destiny. You know, I'm not chasing after money because money connects to purpose. You know, I'm not chasing after notoriety. You know, notoriety connects to destiny and purpose. So I'm not worried about that. I just want to fulfill what it is that is meant for me to fulfill in the earth, because my life is meant to be bigger than myself. It's bigger than myself, because when we do what we're meant to do, we're going to be able to do exactly what you said, is to leave emptied out, which interestingly enough, probably about 50% of my guests that has come on the show have said the same thing. And I didn't realize that it came from Miles Monroe, that they want to leave empty. They want to leave, that they poured out, and they've given everything that they can in that regard. And it's really important that, you know, that we, you know, become reproducers. We give what we know and what we have, so that we can leave mantles and legacies and talents behind, because people will connect to that and build their careers and their lives and their family after your yes and your willingness to do what you're meant to be.
They'll be able to build on you. Yes. Whew,
indeed.
I gotta chew on that for a little bit. Yeah.
Indeed. But ultimately, I do thank you for coming on the show tonight. I'm telling you, you shared a wealth of wisdom and knowledge that we could chew on for quite a bit of while in that regard. And I find it interesting. Another thought before we end. I find it interesting for you to not currently, I'm going to say currently, not have a degree, that God is using you in a space of education where people are getting degrees, defying odds, defying the status quo, defying, you know, what that is in that regard. You know, God is really hilarious.
Ain't that something? Like, no. Like, ain't that, it's literally hilarious. It's hilarious because, can I be honest with you? It's been probably one of the greatest contributions to my insecurity. Because I felt like I set out to finish, you know, and I didn't. And me not finishing in that regard has been the biggest thing that has been that has continuously spoken failure to me.
Right.
And taking on that identity of I'm a failure because I didn't finish what I set out to do. You know, I'm someone that's been given a skill set of an administrator and of all of this impartation to give and all this insight and all this information and all this education. And that's who I am. But I don't have the necessary things in order for me to live out into that. So I'm a failure. And for God to literally build my life strategically with undeniable experiences and leveraging those experiences to be able to maximize engagement and interaction that gives me permission to impact and to empower, to mobilize and to motivate not just young people, but executives and administrative teams, that it makes me undeniable.
Right.
And Man,
you can't even put words to it.
Oh man, come on! I've been feeling insecure about this. So for God to establish me in this regard has been shaking my personal faith. And so I'm speaking that out there so somebody can hear that and realize that God will cause you to experience your greatest victories in the place of your last defeat. Woo.
Indeed.
Last place you failed, God has a way of standing you up in a really unorthodox way in those spaces to mock those that mocked you.
Yep, absolutely.
And I've been living in it, bro. And my boast is in the Lord. I come into secular spaces and I know how to filter myself to where I'm not proselytizing, but people always want to know what gives me my edge, what gives me my advantage. And I'm gonna be honest with you, it's the Holy Ghost. It's the Spirit of God that knows all things, yea, even the deep things that are locked up in the mind of God. And so I be in spaces where I don't know what the world's going on. I don't know what type of beef people got with each other. And I'm put in the middle of a situation and people are expecting me to have an answer and I don't know. And I put up my spiritual antenna and God
Right.
downloads something into me. He'll allow me to look at the people in the room and to look beyond their face of intimidation and to be able to see the
Right.
real area on the inside of them that's thirsty. And he'll give me the words to speak, the understanding to impart and engage. And that's what it is. And so I don't know
Yeah.
what you guys are in your life. I don't know what your statement of faith is, but it's so imperative to your professional future for you to really gain a greater identity of who you are as a spiritual person, because you being in tune with what's real on the inside of you and the origins of where it comes from and tapping into that power, that's the very thing that's going to make you authentic and undeniable in the places that you may be intimidated to walk into.
Wow. Great stuff. Again, thank you so much for coming on the show. I want you to hang tight a bit. I'll be right back with you. Let's go ahead and close out, and then we're coming right on back.
All right, guys. Love you.
Thank you guys, as always, for tuning in to the Legacy Builder series. Yep, we went over our usual time, absolutely, and we are entitled to because it is our finale week. And so, but he shared, and I already kind of gave him free reign today because I said if you're coming on with some things of substance or what have you, we're going to go over and we're just going to let it flow naturally in that regard. And so, as always, I hope that you received or learned something that's going to be applicable to your, make it applicable to your life, and just let that inspire you to continue to build legacy. With that being said, since we are trying to build legacy, we want you to help us to continue to do what it is that we're doing and to take this show to a whole nother level. So we're looking for partners to partner with us, to be a part of the LBS partners, which is the Legacy Builder Series partners, and to help us to take this show on a global platform. And so we're looking for people that can be Patreons, and we're going to have different things that we're going to give away to those that are people that are partners, and you're going to have accessibility to some things or what have you that's on underway that you could be able to that's going to be really beneficial to you by being a partner with us. And so if you're interested in that, there is a link right there on the screen. If you do not have that particular means, you can definitely send us a message on any other platforms or email us, and we'll be able to get you the appropriate details that you need to help you to be a partner with us. Also, if you are a business or have a service or a product and you would like to advertise with us, 30 to 60 second commercial slot, we do have spaces available that you can advertise with us. If you have a already established commercial of 30 to 60 seconds, as long as your product is family friendly, or what have you, we can definitely advertise it on the show. So see the email link there on the screen, and you can be able to advertise with us. Also, if you do not have a commercial created, Fourg Virtual Effects Studios, which is actually my company, can assist you with actually creating a 30 to 60 second commercial in that regard. And so, and as our audience is broadening, and as we get ready to take this on a global perspective, that's going to give you even more reach to your product. So you definitely want to be on the lookout for that. But as of current right now, we are streaming on 9 different platforms with different audiences per different platform. So you definitely want to consider it even now or even for future. Again, thank you guys for coming on to the Legacy Builder series. I tell you, I've learned a lot. I learned from every guest that come on this show. I am a student just like you are, and I am gaining a wealth of knowledge, and it inspires me. I get the little tinglies on the back of my neck, and I feel like I want to, scream and go in tongues and the whole 9 while I'm listening, because there is a wealth of knowledge that is being received. And so even though we're coming to the end of season 1, There is all the episodes are available on YouTube, on every platform that you're watching them on. You can go back and watch those replays and just go with pen and paper and kind of go in and be a student and learn and let these things sink into your mind and into your psyche. That's going to help you accomplish what it is that you're trying to do in life. So thank you guys again for coming on, and always continue to build legacy.
Thank you for viewing the Legacy Builders series. Tune in July through August, Mondays and/or Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with special guest panelists to appear. Want to be a guest or a sponsor? Send your request via email to legacybuilderstv@gmail.com. Till next time, go forth and build legacy.